Welcome to the Social Innovation Podcast, a podcast by the Social Innovation Academy. In this podcast, we talk about inspiring stories of social entrepreneurs in East Africa and beyond. Our first episode will be about one of the most pressing global health challenges, malaria. Every year, millions of people across the world are affected by this life-threatening disease, with sub-Saharan Africa bearing the highest burden. Despite the progress in prevention and treatment, malaria continues to claim lives, particularly in vulnerable communities with little access to healthcare and for our young ones. Here, our guest Joan Nalubega wants to make an impact. Founded in Uganda, her social enterprise Eugenics integrates malaria prevention into daily life in an affordable way by producing mosquito-repellent soap. With that, she has already reached more than 3 million people and has reduced malaria cases for those by more than 80%. In this podcast, we will talk about her personal story with malaria. We're going to talk about the struggle of founding a company and developing a working product. We're also going to talk about women empowerment and gender equality. And we will talk about partnerships and friendships. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And now, Joan Nalubega.
First of all, thanks for having this podcast. First of all, I've been at your factory yesterday, and I also used your product quite often, and I really like the smell, like the scent of it. Actually, when I was using it the first time, I was passing one of my coworkers, and he immediately stopped me, and he knew Eugenics. And he smelled a bit and was like, "That's Eugenics." so it's the scent is also quite unique and known, which is only a side effect of the things that your product has, which we're gonna talk about later. Just to start, let's start from the very beginning and very basic. Maybe like, how would you describe yourself as a person? What is Joanne that we know and that has founded Eugenics?
Yeah. Okay. How would I describe myself? So I would describe myself as a very passionate entrepreneur. My name is Joan Nalubega, and I'm a social entrepreneur, very passionate about creating healthcare equity, especially for low-income communities in Uganda and Sub-Saharan Africa. And I'm also women, gender equality advocate, for example. Yeah, very passionate about those two areas. So I think that's kind of what makes me who I am. And among other things, like I like interacting with people, I like learning, and I like sharing what I've learned. So yeah,
That's very nice. Now you are an entrepreneur. You have this business. But where did it start? Like, where were you raised? Where you were born? I'm reaching now here in the area of Kampala. But were you also born in that area, or where were you? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in central Uganda, in some area called Mpigi. It's outside Kampala, very outside Kampala. It's a rural community, and for example, I was born in Kampala, and due to family issues, I was taken to an orphanage in around 2003, where I grew up from, and I did my primary school in the orphanage, and after primary school, the orphanage lets you go to find other opportunities to continue your education. So that's where I grew up from, and then I moved back to Kampala after that.
Okay, and so MPG is it's quite a rural area, I would say, or like it's a city, but it's a bit rural. Was malaria a thing? Was it a big thing in your when you were growing up? Probably yes. And how did it affect you?
Malaria is still a big thing.
Yes.
And it was even a bigger thing while I was growing up. And it was a big thing staying in a community where there's a lot of children it means there's a lot of illnesses, and one of the common ones in the orphanage was malaria. And I was among the people that suffered a lot from it in the orphanage. I remember I used to be in the sick bay, in the orphanage sick day almost every week. And I was very tiny, so a lot of people used to tell me that I have a very low immune system. I was called names in relation to that because of basically life that I had. Discriminated from a lot of activities. I couldn't involve myself in certain games, certain activities, so I had to stay behind where other kids were doing these things. Because my life was very delicate. I was very tiny. And so malaria was a big thing. It's still a big thing and thing among children. I remember there are times that I kept quiet when I was sick. And one of the times I almost actually lost my life to malaria because I was quiet and self-medicating, making local herbs for myself because I thought they would heal me. So that's how big of a thing it was.
Yes, quite.
Yeah.
Which probably also then shaped your passion now to solve malaria or like to make an impact in this big problem. You said that you then moved to Kampala. Why was it, and like how was that move? I mean, like I came now to Kampala 2 months ago, and for me it was just very crazy. I have to say, but how was it for you?
I mean, as a child, you don't realize nowadays, you realize as an adult. For me, as a child, my priorities were my education and also reconnecting with my relatives that were there. And so coming to Kampala, it was mainly for education. I continued with school, and my life with malaria, for example, got better. I also realized coming to Kampala that people were more aware and had more access to, let's say, medication, had more access to other preventive measures, even if most of them don't use them because of different reasons, like how expensive they are. Most of them are very dangerous, are health hazardous, so a lot of households still don't use them even if they exist, but at least there's self-awareness. And so I came to Kampala, went to high school. I remember I had written when I was in the orphanage, we used to get a lot of sponsors. Not sponsors, volunteers. The volunteers fees to come from different countries. And because the orphanage stopped paying school fees for us, I started writing letters to the volunteers that used to come over to the orphanage. And I think one of the volunteers that were there was Etienne, founder of SINA. And I think he got maybe a lot of letters from different other students. And so I went to high school. I was struggling with getting school fees, staying with my mom. And then one day, Etienne shows up and so it turns out he created an organization that started offering sponsorships to kids in the orphanage, and it turned out that I was one of the kids that had gotten the sponsorship. I was very, very happy. Like, when you're starting to see, okay, I think my future is soon ending, and then I'm going to be a school dropout. My parents cannot be able to afford my tuition, my school fees, and then this comes up. So I regain hope about myself, about my life, about my future. And I focused on school. And like I said, my life had gotten better, but didn't mean that malaria was not existing anymore.
Yeah.
So after high school, I went to SINA, basically mainly to find myself and to discover myself until I go to university, because that was the plan. And reaching there, a lot changed about me. I found out things about myself, like my values, the things that I want to do, who I am as a person, my weaknesses, my strength. And then I learned about self-development. And I kind of realized that I can make things happen and I can think beyond my imaginations that I had at that time, because my goal was to finish school, get a job, work, get married, family, and so on. But that changed. I was still young, but that changed. And that was in 2015. So towards the end of 2015, I am trying to find myself. I had a conversation with a few of the other people that I grew up with in the orphanage. When sitting there, you know how you remind yourselves of your childhood. Oh, you were doing this. You were like this. So those funny stories. And then the other girl told me, oh my God, Joan, you were so sickly. You were very, very sickly. We even thought you had HIV. We thought that's why you kept on getting sick. And I'm like, oh my God, I have lived all my life with these people and they've been seeing me, and this is the picture they've had of me all this while. I mean, no offense, but that hits you differently as a person.
Okay.
But I personally did that. And then also same period, I have a friend who had a child. I used to like kids. I mean, not babies, but 2 years to around 6 years. So I had this friend and I used to hang out with her child. She used to live with the child for a while and we were friends with the child. And then she got sick from malaria and died suddenly. And
Wait, the child died.
yeah,
And how old was
she was around 4, almost around 5 years. And it reminded me of my childhood pain, my traumas. Even reminding me that I also actually almost lost my life. And I was like, if I am looking for myself, I'm looking for something impactful to do. And I'm someone who, like I said, I like learning and sharing what I've learned. And one of the main motivations for me to do that is trying to help people trying to help other people not mess up like I did or not go through the pain like I did. And that somehow inspired me to find a solution to solve this problem so that other kids do not have to suffer, their education doesn't have to suffer, parents don't have to suffer treating children, later on losing kids to this disease. Because growing up in a rural community and coming to the urban community, I saw the difference in the situation because of awareness about the disease, because of other solutions that were there that existed. So I was like, okay, if there are solutions somewhere else, I can be able to create these solutions for these people. So in the beginning, that was it, to get what is already here and implement it in these communities, because clearly these are the mostly affected people. They're the ones that live in malaria impacted places. So
And you also said that like when you moved from PG to Kampala, like in the urban areas, it was a bit better.
Yeah.
And it's like this big asymmetry of the people in the rural areas that are affected the most, as you just said. And they have a little, very little access to medical support. Yeah. So you said then you went to school, and then you met Etienne, and you went to SINA, which kind of gave you some perspective. And was it then for you clear to found a startup? Or are you somebody who's like very interested in entrepreneurship, be your own boss, or was it something that you just knew? Okay, by these stories that you just said, a friend died, and you were also very affected by malaria when you were growing up, that you just wanted to do something about malaria, whatever it is. Oh, wait, okay, I want to be my own boss.
oh man, it wasn't about being my own boss. I didn't yet see that. I didn't even, I don't know why I didn't think about that, but it was more about finding a solution to a problem for these people. So that's how it started. And through the structure of SINA, which I think really helped me is, or which I know helped me, is when you identify a problem, you go and validate the assumptions that you have. So I had to go into the market, and what I did, I actually did my market research in the area where I grew up from.
Okay. That's
So I had
your local network.
I had to go back and ask these households, the mothers, also the kids, to understand their behaviors, to understand the problem.
What was like the most surprising thing, or
I'm going to that.
uh,
So to understand the problem, how they feel about the problem, why they're not doing anything about it, and yeah, there's a lot of shocking things that I found that I had assumptions about that were not true necessarily. So I had assumptions that there are solutions out there. These people should be able to use these solutions. And yeah, one of the reality checks was the solutions that were available were health hazardous. So these people cannot actually use them because they live in the area that has mosquitoes and malaria 24/7. And using these kind of products would be harmful to their health even more than malaria, for example. And so that was one of the things. And then so I had to go do more research about that. And one of the shocking things is when I was navigating to do you understand that this is malaria, these are the symptoms, this is how you get it. So I try to ask them, how do you think your kids get malaria? After asking these families, I actually found households that go to the hospital for malaria like over 7 times in one night. Households like have like 4 kids. So I asked them how you think they get it, and one of the very, very common response was from drinking unboiled water, from eating raw mangoes, or a lot of maize.
Okay. This is the asymmetry that I talked about. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
it made me think about my childhood first. I was like, did I know why I used to suffer a lot from malaria? Yes, of course they tell you sleep in a mosquito net, but I don't think there's enough awareness about why should someone sleep in a mosquito net, because that's why some of them keep them for guests, because I mean there's a lot of factors around that. But so it was very unfortunate to find out that okay, these people treat malaria more than 10 times in 2 months, but they don't even know how their kids get this disease. They don't know why their kids die from this disease. Yet it has been here for decades. That was very shocking for me, and it was very saddening. So that actually gave birth to our first solution that we initiated, or that we invited, which was creating awareness campaigns about malaria. And so we started working with public health hospitals, communities, and we used to create awareness about malaria so that people understand what malaria is, how they get it, and what to do when they get it. Because like I said, when I was growing up, I used to self-medicate a couple of times, which kept me sick. Because when you don't treat it, it means it stays in your blood and it will just keep coming back and back until you treat it. And then when a mosquito bites you and it bites your brother, it has gotten malaria from you and it has given it to your brother. So then it keeps running within the family. And then there were more things. So the health hazards, and then how people were using the mosquito net for other activities and keeping them focused. And I understood this before because I put myself in their shoes. I grew up when I was sleeping in a mosquito net every day because they made sure that I am. And I still fell sick almost every week. So when you do this already, for some people, the mosquito nets are very uncomfortable. And you still fall sick, you're like, okay, this is not helping me in any way. And I'm not saying it doesn't help in any way, but you lose hope. You feel like you have a solution that is not working. So you stop using it if it makes you uncomfortable, unless it doesn't. So that was another unfortunate thing. And that made me realize that I actually say I'm going to solve this problem, but I didn't fully understand it. And it made me realize a gap that is not filled by the solutions that we have, besides the medication, that the prevention. So mosquitoes start coming at dawn in the evening, let's say from 4 p.m. until morning. But if this person has a mosquito net, let's say this person has a mosquito net. So from 3, kids are still playing. 3 to, let's say, 9, 8, 10, 11, to when they go to bed, they're unprotected. So that's the time most of them get malaria, not when they're in bed, because in bed they can be protected. So it made me realize a gap. And so I put my focus on that gap. I was like, I need to find a solution to fill this gap from dawn to when the child goes to sleep.
Evening hours, basically.
Yeah. So then I put my focus towards filling that gap and filling the gap of unawareness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you put yourself in the shoes of them. You try to talk a lot with them, try to understand the problem first. And then was it then, so did you start with the awareness campaigns, or when did this idea of the soap come and why actually? So because like, for example, you could also just diffuse a spray, for example, like I'm, for example, using a spray, or like, why was it in the soap?
Yeah. So I think one thing you realize from where we started with the business to where we will end, I went with just a problem and a need to solve a problem in the community. They helped me develop the past solution about awareness by identifying a gap. So now, when I identify the gap, that I need to find a solution to fill the gap from this time to this time. Of course, by the time I went into the field, I was thinking about the sprays. I'm like, okay, there's sprays that, that are mosquito repellents. These people, I just need to find a way for these people to get the sprays so that they can use them as mosquito repellents. So that's when I went there. I realized, one, that they were very expensive. Secondly, most of them are made from DEET, which is very effective against mosquitoes, but it's hazardous as well.
Oh, okay.
Especially for long-term use. For short-term use, I'm not sure. But for long-term, at least I saw studies, and also people are scared of them because they believe how hazardous, and that's why they don't use them. So I had to then look for other safe ways. I had to go back and look for other safe ways that are existing to prevent or to fill this gap. So I started doing research, reading reports from institutions, chemistry, science institutions, students, about the other alternatives. And I found natural alternatives that were tested. Some of them failed, some of them were proven effective to some level. And so then I had to, from doing the research, I had to try and also look for these other alternatives and test them.
Yeah.
And see if I can get them to the people. But I didn't have money. A lot of people start businesses with maybe $5,000 or $2,000 or 10 or 1 million, whatever someone is about. I didn't have anything except SINA. So
So you were still like in the acceleration boot camp of SINA, or like in the SINA.
at that time, SINA was different. We had confusion, and emerging, and what. But I think at that time I was in emerging and the stages of emerging. So yeah, so I used to get, for example, facilitation to go to the communities and do the research. I needed to look around me, friends and family, to carry out the awareness campaigns. And then it reached on the product development and the product research. And I had to find ways to find resources to help me and the business or the idea to grow, to create an MVP or something like that. So I started looking. I had already read a lot of research papers, read a lot of university data, research data that was online. So I wrote emails to over 100 institutes around the world to.
Everybody, like everything was the same email, or did you write through? Was it like
It was the same email, but I was just editing a few, like the introduction,
100?
introduction and who I'm sending to. So I had to send one email because I didn't want to, I wanted it to be personalized to the universities. And so what I understood, at least in the early stages, when you're trying to find a partner, you learn about them, what they do. And also, if you want them to help you, you need to figure out, okay, why would they want to help me? What would they benefit from this? So those are the things that I changed. For example, like what would they benefit from helping me in my research? And yeah, so I reached out to 100 and I got feedback from like 2. I don't even think most of them didn't even see my email. But I even sent it to the wrong email.
It's a numbers game. It's a numbers game.
So, but then one of them, like 2 of them reached out to me, and one of them was the one in Uganda. So I met this guy. He's called Dr. Wafa. I met him. He was the lead for the Makerere University Chemistry Department at that time. I met him a couple of times. I told him about my research, my idea, what I want to do, and he saw a young person that was very passionate and wanted to make a difference, and he embraced it, and he was very willing to help me, and he helped me. So I told him the data that I had, the things that I wanted to test, what I had, what I had in. I was still planning to make something like a spray, by the way.
Okay.
So he gave me access to some of the students that were already working on their research, and also the lab to test a few things. And so I started testing the ingredients first, the ones that I could get access to, because they were also very expensive. And then I also started looking for support, so involving myself in competitions to be able to get some financial support. And I got financial support from, it was a new fund called Initiative Thailand. I don't know if it's still existing, but so my first support was around $2,000. And so, yeah, I invested that in product development, testing the product, testing the ingredients.
How fast did the cash burn? Like how fast was it until it was over?
I think it lasted 3 months.
Yes, that's good.
But then because I had this help and I tested different things, I consider myself a very creative person, and I analyze things. So I think that's a skill that came in handy for me, that I don't just see something for what it is, but I see it and I analyze it. So I found data online. I tested different things. So as we tested the components, how effective it is against mosquitoes, stuff like that, I was able to think that, okay, if this is 50% effective, this is 90% effective, it is what? How about if we combine different components for each? And so that's how I came up with the repellent, which was crazy expensive. I couldn't tell it to anyone.
But it worked.
But it was. And then after realizing how like 20 mils of the repellent, how expensive it was, I needed to find a solution to make it affordable and still effective. So I went back to the community, because you go there, you give them hope. You're like, I'm working on something. Hopefully, you come up with a solution for them. So I went back and to understand their behaviors, to get their perspective most of them say it's something like a spray. But me understanding their behaviors was understanding their income levels, understanding what do they spend on every day, what do they do from morning until they go to bed. And then I found something that they do between the time that they mosquitoes start to come, do they go to bed, for example. And then also found the common product that they use, at least every household used. And that's how I found the soap. And but then I didn't know that the repellent could work in a soap. So it was also a very long journey. I started using it in 2016, where I was able to do even the basic repellent in like almost end of 2017. And then I had to learn how to make soap.
Yeah. So it's a very inspiring approach. Like you kind of started at the community and you had this problem. You went out. You said you like learning, so you learned a lot about malaria and about techniques that are out there, and you connected to a lot of people. Found one partner and then developed your first MVP with 6 months, and you went back to the community. And you said like you wanted to focus on that evening time, and as I understood it, like this was kind of the perfect match in a way that people are using soap in the evening time anyways, and that's kind of this gap that you wanted to close with your with the soap or with the malaria problem. So now this was then you had the first idea that you wanted to do soap, but then how did it go on? Did you have to like find a new partner, or was it that you could use the other partner? I mean, he had to know about soap, I think. Was the partner also expert in soap?
No. So I had to learn how to make soap. And so me and my team, we started looking for people that teach how to make soap. And we found a couple, but they were very expensive and we couldn't afford it. The other money was over. So we couldn't afford it. And then we found this guy. We still paid some money out to travel to Ginger to learn how to do it. But the soap didn't come out right. It's, oh my God. I still have the image of that soap in my head. And it was so bad. It was so bad. I couldn't use that soap even.
It was
My
not well formed, or what?
Not well formed, but it was so hard. It felt like I would be putting like sodium hydroxide or the silicate or those chemicals on my body. It was so hard and it looked so chemical.
Oh.
So we left. We came back to PG. And so we kept on looking. We went online on YouTube and things were not coming out. And then also while testing after the effectiveness, at first we didn't really focus on the perfect soap, but we focused on also, okay, how is the chemical component of the soap that we're using also like matching with the ones for the repellent. And so we kept also testing the effectiveness. And then I got there's a volunteer who was in SINA who was also very interested in what I was doing. I pitched to her, welcomed her to my team, and she was great. So she was able to create a connection of someone who makes soap in Kampala, and she was willing to teach us. We bought our materials, went there, and we learned how to make soap. That one worked out well, so came and tasted now the recipe of soap that we had gotten there from there with our own recipe. And I had to take a course on formulation and stuff. Most of the things I had to take courses to learn how to do these things. So and finally we were able, like by the end of 2017, we were able to make a soap that was decent enough to look like a soap and that had a matching chemical composition with our repellent. We tested it in a lab with the mosquitoes and nets and hands approach, and also giving them to a number of people that are staying in a place that that is very pushy to test and give us feedback every day about their experience with mosquitoes, not the soap. The soap was still bad. So, but yeah, after of this finishing that, then we also came back and focused on making sure we make good soap that people can actually buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was like some challenges you named here. So the soap itself, and you kind of try to inform yourself about it. But also money, you said, was a big problem during that time. Was there like another challenge that you had repeatedly? I don't know, how many people were you, for example? Did you have enough people to actually do soap?
There are a couple of challenges. One, I think this is something that still entrepreneurs face, or a lot of people face even now. Like I mentioned, that we looked for a couple of companies that were making soap, and a lot of companies were not willing to teach us because I think they felt threatened that we will take their business. And so we had to keep trying until we found someone, and also it required us to build a network, a team, add on our team, bring more people on the team so that we join thoughts until we learned it. But we kept on persisting because we made the first, I think, 7 samples and they were bad. And also getting the funds to do that, it's not easy if you don't have money to invest. But we used the networks of people that we had. Sorry.
Mosquitoes.
No, I had something more. But yeah, what I was saying is we used the networks that we had and to be able to get money saved and invested, whatever we got in that. But now, when we finished producing this soap, it was still crazy expensive. I remember we had presentations almost every Friday to share progress and updates with the mentors. And I remember after developing the soap, we were so happy that we have a product. I went to present, and when they asked me how much did we use to produce the soap, I think at that time it was around 7,000 yuan shillings. And they're like, how much are you going to sell the soap to the people you're targeting? And it did not make sense. The price did not make sense. It was too high. And so I remember my mentor told me, maybe because we had spent so much time on building the product, so much time and so many resources, because I remember that year we also got the Tornado Medal Fund, and some of it went still in finalizing that. And this man had advised us to maybe focus on another approach, like the awareness campaigns that we're doing. Like, why don't you capitalize on that instead of, wasting so much resources and this is not working? And I was very sad because
A lot of time.
that I was like, okay, the people that are supposed to be encouraging me right now, be helping me, are telling me to give up. But I had spent so much time, so much of myself, so many resources into this, and I was happy that I have this achievement, and it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I have to just let it. It's not working. It's not going to work. So what I usually do when I'm actually stressed and I don't know what to do, I go to bed. So I went to bed after the presentation. I went to bed. But then, because I have a very active mind, I can't sleep well in a situation like that. So I was not sleeping. So I didn't sleep. And while I was lying in bed, my brain took me back to the stage in the empowerment where you identifying your market or segmenting your market. So it took me back to that time, and I remembered when I was segmenting my market, I didn't have just at that time it was mothers with children because of age of 5. That's not the only market that I had. I had pregnant women, I had tourists, I had hospitals, I had these other possible target markets. So then I thought about the I thought about the models where people people with money buy something and then they donate. But because I knew my market and I grew up from that segment, I also didn't want these people to get something for free. Because when you have something for free, you don't really value it. I remembered how before at that time in SINA, we used to receive free soap, free everything. And you'd go around the bathrooms and you find pieces of soap around the bathroom. People did not value that because it was for free, but now you can't find it there. So I also thought about that. But yeah, what came out that evening is I thought about how do I make this product affordable to these people. So I thought about the tourists. I realized, okay, these people already spend on repayments. They are already aware of malaria. And they're already frustrated with the solutions that they have, that they're health, but that they have chemicals and so on. Okay, how about if I have two segments? This segment buying the product at slightly higher price, and then I can make it affordable for the low income, for the mothers with children below 5 years in rural communities.
Like a cross subsidize
for subsidizing. So yeah, that's how I came up with the model, and so it was a challenge, and so like I mentioned, I had to go back to the drawing board and find a solution from the data that I had. So that's how our business model actually came up.
Oh, okay. And so then you had the idea after your nice sleep or whatever. I hope you slept well at that time. But the soap wasn't ready yet, I think. Or was it? You said it's
at that time it was almost ready. I mean, we have improved over time. The soap we had last year is not the same soap we have this year. So we're continuously improving. So, but at that time, at least the soap, we could be able to sell it. Not a lot of people could still buy it, but selling a product, now we had a product, and making a product is not just making a product and selling it. You have to brand it, you have to position it, you have to learn how do I actually make a sale, how do I get customers to buy this, how am I going to sell it, the channels. So we had to figure all these things out, which we had not put focus on, but at least we involved people in the beginning. So we had to still use the data that we got from people about how to market and how to position ourselves, and how the people that we want to get this product at an affordable price going to actually get it. And also now we had to do more research on positioning ourselves to the tourism industry. Where do we position ourselves? So then we thought about an approach of working with hotels that already received the tourists that would be able to buy our product. We thought about working with tour companies, working with different entities in the tourism industry. And of course, that as me, I started off as a person with an idea. Then I became an inventor. I had to do research. I had to do tests, and I had to learn in the journey. So now I had to learn marketing and branding, brand positioning, and I had to learn working with a team, managing a team, growing a team, setting values for the company. So now it became a company, and things like registration, certifications, all that come up, and you have to learn about all these things. And but because it's too much, another challenge that I face, because it's too much, you do what you can and you try to put off what you can't. And we don't pay attention to a lot of things like the registration. I remember I just got help. I even got cheated like 3 times where I was registering the company, but you just get someone who comes on, says, oh, I know how to do this. And you give them money, they tell you I will handle everything, and they handle everything, but you don't even know what they're handling. You don't know the kind of responsibility you're giving yourself as an entrepreneur. You have to file returns in different entities. They make up articles that you're not even aware of. You don't even know what is in your articles. I remember the first articles we had, I went there and we are manufacturers of agro processing products. So there was a paragraph there about that. And so, but as you grow, you realize these things and you pay attention to these things more. And yeah, if you do, when I did, I had to resolve some of these things, and I realized that I have to pay attention to even the little things. I rather do less that I understand and that I've paid attention to than do so much that doesn't really make sense. But that stage for an entrepreneur, it calls for multitasking and being open to learn and learn fast and learn as you're doing. So yeah.
So now Uganix has grown a lot, and you reached over 3 million people. You have a lot of different products also, and you also spoke about your team. You employ like 40, more than 40 people, and most of them are women. So yeah, is there a specific reason why most of them are women? I assume yes. Like, do you have an idea behind that? Why you want to do this?
So I mentioned that I'm a gender equality advocate, and after growing up in an orphanage, before I went to the orphanage, I was living with a single mother. Even after that, I was living with my mother, and I recognized the role of women in raising families, and also their high need for financial stability or for money to take care of their households or their families, and the lack of opportunities that they have to be able to do this. But this is part of me. But of course, I also have a team, and one of my co-directors that I've been with almost since the beginning is a man. And of course, and when we talk about gender equality, we're not just talking about women. We're talking about both men and men, both women and men. But so how it started for us actually to be recruiting a lot of women, it started with us when we got a partnership in Austria to distribute our products in the EU countries. We started working on our certification, and we had failed tests because there were some traces of some components that did not need to be in some of our materials. And it was hard for us to backtrack where our materials are coming from to identify where the problem is coming from, because like I told you, in Uganda, when you ask a lot of questions, I don't think it's just in Uganda, but when you ask a lot of questions to these people, they think you're trying to take their business away. So we could not get answers. And we had to figure out a way to solve the problem. So because we didn't have land or a lot of resources to be able to actually manufacture these things by ourselves, we had to brainstorm as a team, and that's what gave birth to our Women Empowerment Program. And what we do there, we identify the need for us to have these raw materials where we can determine and measure and ensure the quality of what we're getting. And then also we identify the high need for financial stability for farmers, and we realized that most of them are actually women, that are the ones that take care of the gardens, and we could capitalize on their skills, the already available land that they have that we use for agriculture, and it was a win-win situation. So we started, of course, we also went to the community to see if our assumptions were right. Of course, some of them were not, and some of them were. And so we started equipping them with skills in herbs cultivation, teaching them about the herbs, and also, of course, try to make sure that this is sustainable for them. We made sure they do not grow food in their farms where they're exposed to grow food. So we started using the how they call the places, around the gardens, around their homes. They started planting those things, and the more women we had, the more we had. I remember the more hubs we had. I remember in the first 2 years we had at least hubs on like combine on like a total of like 2 acres of land. So that's how we started, and we started with empowering these women because we wanted to do a difference in their town. And then we also needed a process that we can supervise and control.
That's very interesting. Yeah, I mean, you're also a mother.
Yeah.
Maybe also not for you. How is your work-life balance at the moment? Is it very? I also know that you study and you have this company. Maybe like, how is it at the moment being a mother as well? Is it very stressful, or did you also like get power or strength by being a mother and running this company?
That's a question that I try to answer is expect. I mean, it's not easy. It's not easy, but it's doable. I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm much better at taking care of these responsibilities. I'm a perfectionist, which made it harder. So it took me a while to actually feel like I am having some work-life balance, work-life study balance. But I had to first okay. What has helped me so much is self-awareness. I am very self-aware. And when I have a problem or a challenge, I try not to deny it, but recognize it and learn how to live with it. Learn how to fit into who I am and what I do. So, and when I started a business, that is, I didn't know how much responsibility that was putting on me. And for years, I was just working because I had a vision. And then at first I had a goal to find a solution. Then I found a solution. I had a goal to get the solution to the people. Then I had a goal to grow this. Then I had a goal to reach more people. Then I had a goal to create more impact. So it's just, and at some point when you pause and you realize that you have not even taken time to celebrate or to celebrate the things you have achieved. So when I did that, it was overwhelming, and I still needed to grow myself more. I had a goal to go back to school, and I went back to school, and I had a goal to give birth before I was 26, and I did that. And there were goals, and I love them. I love everything that I'm doing. But at some point, I felt like it was too much for me, and I was either doing so much at work and not giving my child time, or I was doing so much giving so much time to my child and myself, and I was not doing enough at work, or I was giving school so much time. School is not, you can put a pause at, let's say, well, like, okay, let me get a break from work. But school, you get a break, but it's break time. So I realized that, okay, this was too much for me, and I had to take a step back, and I had to sit down, and I'm like, okay, I have this problem, and this is what is important to me. At work, this is what is important to me. As a mother, this is what is important to me as a student. And these are my responsibilities here. These are my responsibilities here. These are my responsibilities here. These are the responsibilities that I can delegate here as a mother. These are the responsibilities I can delegate as a CEO, as a person, as a leader. And these are the responsibilities that this is how I can play with school. This is how I can give myself time. So I allocated how much time I give each of these responsibilities and defined exactly what is needed from me from these different things. And also I had to learn these things. I have a management log from of the time I had done that I set a goal to achieve a work-life balance, set boundaries, prioritization. I have that this is my expected outcome. These are the things, these are the resources I'm going to use. I planned it. And over time, I taught myself habits, new ways of living, new ways of handling things, new ways of prioritizing, how to prioritize, when to prioritize what. And over time, I've learned to live in this life, and it's not stressful and doesn't give me anxieties anymore as much as it used to. But it was hard. It was hard. There are times I cried myself to sleep and smiled the next day. But I'm better now. So yeah.
That's so inspiring. Yeah, how you where you started, and how your personal development basically was. And you also like talked a lot about the goals of that, goals to that, goals to that. So maybe my last question, what is the goal now for Euganics? I also thought you have reached a lot of people in Uganda, and you've actually reduced malaria cases in their communities, which is awesome. But I have the feeling that we have some other goals. So maybe some things that you could share. Yeah, or like if you would now look into the future now for 10 years, where would you like to see you and Euganics?
So I'll answer that question like this. A lot of people ask me why I went back to school. It was one of the reasons like when we were growing up, why we went to school is to go to school, get skills, and get a job and earn money and become successful and seen as a successful person. At least that's how I'm seen. So a lot of people ask me why I went back to school. So like I said, I studied Euganics to find a solution to malaria. Then I found the solution. Then, and then at some point I gone myself, always aiming for something else. And like I said, I'm very self-aware. So yeah, I had to take a pause and like, okay, this is where I was. This is where I wanted to go. Now I'm here. Is this still the same direction that I want to go? First as a person, and then because I contribute, my energy, my inspiration contributes to the growth of the business. And I was still passionate about fighting malaria. But because the solution that I was aiming for was already there, I felt like, okay, I didn't have something big to aim for anymore. Or I wasn't sure if I was still aiming for anything big. I mean, of course, malaria is still there. It's still killing a lot of kids and people. But I was like, do I want to aim to create a more immediate, effective solution? Can I do that? Do I have the resources to do that? So I went again on the journey to discover myself, which is why one of the reasons why I went back to school, and I went to the specific university that I went to because it's a mission-driven university. And I went there on a journey to find myself again. And I realized that I was still passionate about building healthier communities, but it was beyond that. I wanted to create health equity in the communities. And so over this past 3 years, I've been learning and implementing what I learned in my personal life and also in Euganics. Right now, our goal is not just focused on creating a malaria-free world or contributing to the reduction of malaria cases, but it is to create healthier communities of equity and ensure that healthcare is a right, not a privilege. It doesn't matter whether you're poor or you're rich, but you are able to receive quality healthcare that they deserve and that they need. Of course, it's a big vision. So we started with still malaria and other related illnesses like typhoid. Diseases we've been hearing while we've been doing what we do from these people that they don't have access to preventive measures. They don't have access to the knowledge, and they don't have access to the treatment that they need for this. And realize it's also from one of the impact measurement surveys you've been talking about. Our impact, we do this every year. The public health specialists we worked with or we've been working with keep talking about how treatment is important for us to actually achieve the impact that we want to achieve. Because if we don't eliminate it in the households, it will stay there. So we implemented a health coverage program, which we started with in a different community, in a community that is not, so to test the models, to test the initiative. So it's kind of like a health insurance, but we're still implementing this. But also we are continuously growing our prevention solutions because that's where our focus is. And right now we have expanded our reach. So right now anyone anywhere around Uganda can get our product, which was not the case, for example, last year. And then we are in the process, we are setting up a partnership in West Africa. So our goal is for everyone with at a risk of getting malaria or dying from malaria, having access to the relevant knowledge they need about it and preventive measures that they need to prevent it. It doesn't necessarily have to be ours, but that's our goal, to fight the disease and to find ways to do it. And right now, for example, our awareness campaign manuals are translated in over 10 languages so that we are able to reach more people in their behaviors, in their languages, in ways they live already, because we don't want them to have excuses. I can't buy this product because it's expensive, or I need to buy a spray when I don't use a spray on a daily basis. That's why even on our product line, we have stayed in line, or we have tried to stay in line with the products that these households use on a daily basis to just add on the effectiveness. We started with our product being effective for 5 to 6 hours. Now we have a product that is effective for up to 10 hours. So growing, that's our goal. We want to build
Growing.
healthier communities.
That's amazing. Joan, thank you so much. It was very nice. I think I learned some new stuff about malaria, but as I said, I like the soap and I like the smell, but I also like your passion about combating malaria. And this will not only include the soap, but as you said, you will want to broaden it up and give everybody access to support and the knowledge that it needs to not die from malaria. Thank you so much, and have a great evening.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to this podcast with Joan Nalubega. If you want to find out more about our work at Social Innovation Academy, please check out our website in our description in this podcast. See you next time.